Hello, everyone. Welcome. Come on in. Hello, everybody. All right. I think you all can hear me. Um, but let me know in the chat if you can hear this. All right. Welcome. Welcome. Come on in. Please let me know where you are in the world, and say hello. Come on in. Come on in. Hey, Leon. How are you? Excuse me. Hey, Leonardo from Brazil. Wow. Hey, Josh. I'm great, Leon. Thank you for asking. Hey, Alan in Singapore. Wow, wow, wow. Hey, Josh Blair. Hey, Chris, how are you? Come on in, everybody. I know it's later than our normal 9:30 time. I've been posting on YouTube that we are going to be starting at 10. Let me know if you all received that post from me saying that we're starting at 10 today. Hey, Robert Johnson, how are you? Hey, Noriko. Let's see. Who else is on? Let's see who else is on here. All right. Do you know I love you, the jazz standard? No, I used to know that one, but I don't remember it currently. Um, I need to go back and refresh all my jazz standard stuff. Uh, okay, so Nurka says notification just came. Okay, y'all. All right. So, hey, Mike. So today I was thinking about what did I want to share about today, um, and I've been thinking about going back to my days as a just young musician trying to figure it out. Um, and if I had to kind of give some thoughts um, or lessons to my younger self, um, what would I say? And I'll quickly tell you my story, and then kind of um, share some thoughts with you all. So I uh, I started off, reading music, going taking piano lessons at the local piano store. So I learned, how to read music, and that was my introduction to music. I was at 11, and I took piano lessons for about 2 or 3 years, and then I stopped. But I had a piano at the house, so I kept playing on it. But that was about it. I play on it occasionally. Um, and then when I was 17, my cousin inspired me to go start playing in our local church, a little small holiness church that did not mind you like setting up a keyboard and just kind of fiddling around until you figured it out. That was kind of like the process. And so my cousin taught me one song, um, and it was a song this holiness church never did. But he taught me the song, and funny, Chris, the song happens to be called "I Love You." You know. So the song, and that's how I learned it. Like that's all I knew, literally, as far as gospel music was concerned. And I was trying to figure out how, like, what, what do I do? How do I figure all this stuff out? Um, and I wanna kind of, if I had to go back now and talk to my younger self, like, what would I say? Um, um, the first thing I do is I'll occasionally go back and play that song. I love you, just to see like how far I've come. And I remember very vividly trying to just to, and that's kind of how I played. Um, and every few years or so I play that song again, and I'm reminded about how far I've come. Uh, uh, hmm, 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 okay. And so I'm thinking back to what helped me from playing the to kind of how I just played just now. And there were a lot of things. Um, hey James, thanks. Uh, oh, uh, I see. We might do open up the evaluations again, James. Um, and so there'll be another opportunity for sure. Um, so the first thing I want to share with you all, the first thing I want to share with you all is, and maybe you're not like me, maybe you're the exact opposite to me. Um, One thing that really held me back is one of the biggest things I wish I could um, go back and redo is fear. This is one of the biggest things. Um, as I was coming up, I knew how to play it one way, and I was like, that works. I know how to play it that way. And trying to find a different way, I was scared. I was nervous about it. So I said, no, I'm gonna stick to the way I have it. I have it. It works. It's great. I don't need to know another way. But the truth was, I was just afraid. Um, uh, uh, Another thing, I was afraid of tritones. This interval of a tritone. I started hearing about it when I was about 18, 19. I started hearing about this word tritones. I was like, what is that? I already can kind of figure out my way through a song. Why do I need to learn this tritone thing? So I don't want to learn it, and I fought it for a long time, and then I finally said, okay, let me figure out what this is. And it once I decided to do it, it revolutionized my playing. Like it changed my playing completely. Um, and then I became afraid of learning new things because it meant I had to change the old stuff. I remember feeling this way. I was so frustrated that every time I learned something new, I had to change everything about the way I played because there are some errors, and so I was afraid of that. So I wouldn't learn anything new, and I let fear like rob me of many years of growth. Um, and every time it was the same thing. As soon as I decided to go ahead and pursue it, whatever it was, musically, I always ended up better. And so my first thought to you is don't have any fear. Don't have any fear. Uh, um, Will Smith is a phenomenal motivational speaker. He's an actor and was a rapper and artist and all that stuff, but he's a phenomenal motivational speaker. And one of the things he talks about is um, the only thing he's afraid of is fear itself. And so if there is something that he's afraid of, he goes and attacks that thing. So if he's afraid of bungee jumping, then he goes and bungee jumps. If he's afraid of swimming in the ocean, then he goes and swims in the ocean. Um, I'm not uh, I'm not to that level of freedom yet, but I will say musically, don't have fear because it only holds you back. It doesn't help. So y'all let me know. Am I the only one that kind of is has, that fear is held back has kind of cost me time? Am I the only one? Y'all let me know in the chat. Am I the only one? All right. So let me see. Let me take a few questions while you let me know. Am I the only one that's kind of lost time because of fear? Let's see. Rachel says, "Will you do a traditional gospel session?" I actually teach a traditional gospel, a whole thing on traditional gospel in my Gospel Foundations course. I highly encourage you to take that. Josh says, "How long did it take for your reading to become good?" I play by ear and have been reading music, but tips on making it stronger would help. Now, there was a time where I was reading constantly, and so it depends on what you're talking about reading. If you're talking about reading jazz charts, or talking about reading like full scores or sheet music on the grand staff, uh, but all of it is just exposure. So you just force yourself into it and force yourself to do it, and you automatically get better at it. How Enrico says, "How did you find the bass notes before you realized the chords?" Um, the bass notes. Well, I know the template of the song, so I think I played "I love you, I love." You. So I know the template, and so now that I know the template, I can mess with it. So I have lots of little things I can do. Um, so knowing the foundation and then figuring out a different way around it. Okay. Kiana says, "While your children are blessed to teach the fact that you're speaking about no fear." Yeah. Okay. Julio wants to know how to play piano with a jazz feeling. Um, I would say if you want that feeling, listen to a lot of jazz music. You can't help but get it. So Kiana says, "Fear has definitely cost me time." Is this John Mike? I think that's John. Me too. Leon says, "I definitely can relate." Ark says, "I think I need to hear that. I'm so glad to." Marcus says, "Definitely, bro. I still haven't played with the band. Wow. I'm the same way. Still working to overcome fear." Joshua Blair says he's fearless. Cool. Enrique says sometimes she avoids soloing. Let's see who else. Chris Gardner. Fear of different keys, how people react to my playing, but it's getting better. I fear improv. Jan says the fear is not knowing how to get to the next level. I hear you. Okay, so yeah, so you all are in the same boat as me. Many of you are. So I think one person said they didn't have that feeling. I've only met one person in my life who I personally saw had no fear. And this young man um, is was he went from he he shot up really fast because he wasn't afraid to sound bad in front of you. If there's, I remember one time I went to Georgia State, and at the time I went to Georgia State University to get my master's in jazz piano. Um, it was like Piano U, like all the great pianists in Atlanta were there. There was a ton of them, and so uh, we were all sitting down, and this artist had come to Georgia State, and this young man I'm speaking about, he was a freshman, so you have all these grad students there sitting down in the piano department. Here's this freshman that's sitting there who has no fear. And so this artist comes up and says, "Hey, I need somebody to get on piano." And the first one up was that freshman kid. The first one up, and you got all these like seasoned pros and just guys that are phenomenal. He was the first one up, and you know it wasn't great, it wasn't bad either. He played fine. Um, but that no fear attitude, uh, he went from that little freshman to graduating, releasing several albums on the way to graduating, and then moved out to California and won a Grammy within a year. So, so that kind of boy attitude, propelled him really, really quickly. And he's a phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal player. Um, and so I found almost in every sport, if you think about sports, what separates the guy that rides the bench from the seasoned pro? It's confidence. And so being fearful uh, can definitely hurt you. So I know I've been harping on that, but y'all listen, um, don't lose another day of time because of fear. I've lost years. I'm thinking, man, where could I have been if I wasn't afraid to start playing tritones with my left hand, or wasn't afraid to try this, you know, earlier. Where could I be now? Um, and so don't take it from me. Don't um, waste another day. If there's a situation where you got to get on the piano and play, and there's this amazing musician right behind you, looking over over your shoulder, just play the best you can. And if it's not as good as them, it's okay. You just play the best you can, and don't be afraid. Um, all right. So let's see. I'm gonna take a couple more questions, then I'll move to the next thing. Um, Keon says, "I'm fairly new to your channel, but I'm subscribed. Do you have a video up on tritones?" Um, I have a video where I address this, and so um, let me put the link in the description box. It's a
Would you like to learn?
two part series, so I definitely encourage you to watch both parts. I'm gonna give you the link to part one, and this gives 12 different uh, um, left hand options. So definitely watch that. I do six on part one and six on part two. Okay, okay. Um, the next thing I would say uh, is listen to a lot of music. Listen to a lot of music. Um, um, I had the opportunity to. I went to Clemson University and got my undergraduate degree from there, and I had the opportunity to take a lesson there with a guy named Michael Wise. He's a New York jazz pianist guy who's a phenomenal player. And so I got to get a chance to lesson with. I had a lesson with him. I was 19, I believe, 19 or 20. And I was asking him all these questions. I was like, "How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do?" It was nonstop. I had like a notebook full of questions, and uh, and he said something to me that completely blew my mind, and it made perfect sense. It was like revelatory. He like stopped me in the middle of one of my questions. I was like, "Hey man, all the answers are in the music." And I was like, all the answers are in the music. Music is like an open book test. Do you want to know what somebody did here? Go listen to what they did. There it is. That's what they did. Now the key is figuring it out. But the answers, you have the answer already. You just got to figure out, the notes that they played. But if I want to know the best way to play Amazing Grace, and now we have YouTube. I type in Amazing Grace, bluesy style, and there are 40 people playing it in a bluesy style. Um, if I want to know how Corey Henry plays churchy music, I can just type in Corey churchy music, and listen, and there's the answer. Like the answer is in the music, right? The answers are in the music. It's there. Like how do you do this? It's right there. The answers. The key is, can you pull it out? Can you see what they did? Can you pull the answers out? And today especially, people show you their hands so you can actually see what they're actually playing. But listen to a lot of music. Um, and so I have two takes on this. Uh, so let's say you want to be a jazz musician. So you listen to a lot of jazz music, and jazz has a lot of subgenres in it. Um, um, and so that's cool. If you want to be a gospel musician, listen to a lot of gospel music. Um, but then, truthfully, I would encourage you to branch out and listen to a few other things, um, uh, just to broaden what you're bringing to the table. All right, so listen to a lot of music. All right, and who? Okay. Um, and so let me see. The last thing I want to say, I have a lot of things. I could probably sit here for about 4 hours and talk about this. Um, is learn everything that resonates with you. Learn everything that resonates with you. Learn everything that resonates with you. I'm going to write this down so everyone can see this. Learn everything that resonates with you. This W is shorthand for with. All right. Learn everything that resonates with you. Now, what does that mean? Um, what does that? What does that mean? Resonates. Um, what does that mean? Something resonates. Well, when you're listening to something and something grabs your ear, like it grabs your ear. Like learn that thing. And then you listen to something else, and something else grabs your ear. Learn that thing, and these become words that you can use when you're telling your story, if that makes sense. Um, I kind of feel like, not to sound like super crazy or anything like that, but I kind of feel like everything that resonates with you is like it's like your ear saying like this is the sound like I'm trying to get out. Like this is our sound. Like that's part of our sound. That little thing is part of our sound. So learn that. Then this little thing is part of our sound. Oh, how that happened. That's part of our sound. It's something that really just resonates with you deeply. Um, it's part of your sound. So learn that thing. Don't shy away from it, and don't give up while learning it, because there's so many lessons to be learned while learning it. Um, yeah. So James says even TV themes exactly like whatever it is. If um let's see. There's the song, the Brady Bunch song. There's a story of a man named Brady. Well, that resonated with Ivan Powell. And so Ivan Powell, who's a phenomenal organist, I believe he died. He's the uncle of Kevin Powell, if you're familiar with the Powells, Doobie Powell. Uh, I got a chance to hang out with him for a summer, uh, kind of tangentially, um, and uh, I got the chance to listen as he explained how he came in with the song he did for a famed gospel singer, Karen Clark Sheard, on the song "Sacrifice," I believe it was. He actually played the Brady Bunch like that. Those chords were the same, um, and so yeah, for sure. Even TV themes, like, whatever resonates with you, that's part of your sound. So learn that thing. Why would you not learn it? Right? This thing resonates with me. I don't want to learn that. I want to learn like this boring stuff. No, learn the thing that resonates with you, and keep learning. And what happens is you learn this word and this word and this word. Each that nugget of sound becomes like a word for you, and then when you go to speak, like when you go to play, you're just kind of regurgitating all these nuggets that have become part of the way you speak. Like I think about many of the things I do. Um, like you hear me play, and the vast majority of the stuff I play, I remember where I found it. It's like I found a long lost friend, like this sound, this chord. Actually, I don't think I was. Yeah, it was. I was here. I was in this key though. It's a weird chord. Like I stumbled on that chord. I was here in Atlanta and at church in the practice in our office, and I stumbled on this chord. I was explaining something else, and I stumbled on this. And this has become so like this chord has become like I use it every time I sit down and play. Every time. It doesn't matter gospel, jazz. I use it everywhere, and I stumbled on that. Um, and so those are three lessons um, that I would give to the younger me. Um, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Don't have any fear. Don't let fear run you. Don't let fear get the best of you. Um, because fear's voice is never giving you the best advice. If you're listening to fear, fear says, "Ah, don't do it." Okay, well then you never achieve. You never accomplish what you want to accomplish. Fear says, "Don't go there. Don't play your best stuff here," or whatever fear is saying to you. Don't learn this lick. You're, you know, it never helps in this context, right? Um, secondly, listen to a lot of music. The answers are in the music. And lastly, um, learn everything that resonates with you. Right? Learn everything that resonates with you. So this is the chord, Mike. If I had to call it something, I could call it a couple things. Let's see. I would think of it. I would call it A flat major, um, add four in this case. So it's a major. It's a major. You could think of it as a D flat. All right. You could think of it like that with the add two. All right. Or A flat depends on the root. Or with the E flat in the bass, it becomes something different, right? It comes like a E flat sus, E flat seven sus four, at 13. Uh, so yeah, and I use that everywhere. Okay. Hey Giovanni, let's see. I'll take a few more questions. Um, oh Keith, I was supposed to remind you to provide a list of people to listen to. Okay, let me see if I can't pull that up for you, really quickly. And while I'm pulling that up, y'all let me know what are some lessons that you've learned that if you could go back and share with the younger you, what would you say? What would you say? Um, Here we go. So let's see if this will work. All right. So here's a list of gospel musicians for you, Keith. Hopefully that's uh, it's a pretty long one. Oh, I'm way over the characters. Oh man, you can only put 200 characters in this chat. All right, so let's try this. I'm gonna try it multiple times, and let's see if I can't get it. So this is gonna be interesting. All right, so y'all bear with me as I try to give you all these. Um, these are all gospel guys. All right, so I'm seeing some pretty great quotes. I'm seeing some pretty cool ones. Um, let's see. And then I even include some. I'll even include some albums that I think are really cool for you. So just copy this. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm in the thick of it now. So we'll just keep going. Let's see. All right, y'all stick with me just a little longer, and I'm almost done. This was a really long list. All right, I think this might be the last one. Nope, I'm gonna have to do one more. There we go. Okay, all right. That yeah, I have a PDF, but I just couldn't pull it up in time. Um, that right there took forever. All right, so let's see. What did you all say? Um, okay, so here we go. Let's see. We have a question from Kyle. Hi, bro. I love your lessons. I learned a lot from with your voicings lessons. But could you tell me if, when you're thinking about chords, you get them through your scales or it's independent thinking? Um, have I ever derived a chord from a scale? Maybe I have. I probably have at some point. But I know I'm thinking about chords independently. Um, what are some intermediate chords that you play? I want to spice up basic chords, but I'm not at the advanced level yet. Um, okay, I'm gonna come back to that, Rachel. I thought about I was gonna do another point like to my younger self, but I think I'm gonna do it. I decided not to, but I think I will do it. So let me just answer a few more questions. I'm gonna come back to you, Rachel. Um, have a more disciplined practice schedule for sure. You have to walk before you can crawl. Cool. Uh, okay. The cool bro says start earlier, basically. Josh says hang around the right crowd. Definitely. Listen to more music. Yeah. Okay. Um. So Rachel, I'm going to kind of answer your question tangentially. Um, she asked about intermediate voicings. Um, this is one of the things I would have told myself years ago. Um, is that uh, don't worry about whether you're intermediate, advanced, beginner. Just keep learning, keep your head down, keep learning, keep pushing, and you'll look back and realize um, um, you realize, oh, I'm way better than I used to be. I'm way better than I used to be. Um, and so uh, I know today and I hear this and I hear it a lot. I'm gonna push back a little bit on it. I know today we're like in my beginner, intermediate, advanced, um, and then like there's levels, and this is the intermediate level. And once I know this, then I'm not intermediate no more. I'm advanced. I'm beginner. But once I know all my skills, I'm intermediate. Um, and it's just not true. It's not true at all. I knew a phenomenal classical pianist, concert pianist, who could play unbelievable scores of music by all the great composers, just all the stuff that you would ever imagine. But he couldn't play all of his major scales. So he's playing the hardest concertos and all stuff. It's like all over the place. But if I asked him to play an E flat major scale and then a D flat, he couldn't do it. He could only play C. Um, so is he not advanced? No, no, that's not the case. These are things. I'm tangentially getting to your question. Her question was about intermediate chords. There's no such thing as an intermediate chord. Um, a chord is a chord. Um, I use triads, and I'm not an intermediate. I guess I'm an advanced player. Um, maybe depending on the crowd, right? But I use this. I'll play that. I've played it many times today, right? So, um, so one, I wouldn't group things like this is an intermediate chord. If you add the seven or add the nine, now that's an intermediate chord. But when you add the sharp 11, that's advanced. So stay away from that because it's too advanced. No, I wouldn't think like that. If you want to start learning adding extensions, then definitely start learning that. Start adding your extensions and keep going till you learn your extensions, and keep trying to master these chords and how to work through them. Um, um, but don't let don't let the some title that someone gave, like, this is an advanced chord, um, make you think, oh, I can't learn that right now. I need to stay away from advanced chords. No, 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 no. Don't. That's kind of like fear talking. So there's no such thing as an advanced chord. There's no such thing as a intermediate chord. They're just chords, and we extend them. And so there's a process you work through. Like, you start with triads and then keep going up. But at one point does it become intermediate? At one point does it become advanced? Uh, you know, uh, I wouldn't suggest thinking of it like that. So I'm gonna kind of push back against that. I know there are a lot of they make for great teaching tools, to say, okay, this is advanced, so you don't need to learn this now. But just learn, and don't put a limit on it. And Rachel, I hope you don't feel like I was fussing at you. I'm not. uh, all right, so let's see what else. Leon says we have to stop putting ourselves in categories and being thankful for what we know. We must keep learning, and yeah, yeah, we like yeah, exactly, Leon. So as I told you, I started with this song. I love you, I love you, I love you today, and I played it really basic. And I kept working and trying to get it, and I forgot about the song, and then I played it a few years later, and I said, and it was at that moment that I thought, oh wow, I have made a lot of progress. And then it was a few years later, and I came back and played it. I was like, whoa, I'm playing it, and then I've been thinking about it recently, and I started playing it, just trying to analyze how far I've come from where I started. Um, but yeah. But I wouldn't be thinking, okay, this is an intermediate chord. This is intermediate now, so now I'm intermediate. Nah, don't think like that. Just think like, I want to get better. I want to continue improving every day. Um, all right. Let's see. Paul says, how do I build speed on scales and runs? Slow practice. Do slow. I have a video that I talked about technique that I have that talks about how I built speed and these things, and I highly recommend that technique. It's a brutal technique. It's not fun, but if you do it, it'll definitely like increase your speed. So I'm gonna put it here in the link, the chat. Let's see. Keon says, "Do you know Sweeter as the days go by?" I do not. By his Skywalker, I do not. Robert says there's an advanced way of thinking. That's true. That's true. There, as you grow, you think about things differently. That's very true. Kenneth Donaldson said Johnny Costa is a beast. Yeah, I grew up on Mister Rogers' Neighborhood. Loved it. Never really knew why I loved it. I just loved the show. I loved his message. I loved the music. And then I remember watching it as an adult. Like I was like 18, 19, and I heard the music for the first time, like really listen, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is playing the piano like no other. And so I actually no, I wasn't 18. Oh yeah, I was around 18, 19, and and so I literally called the radio station and I emailed the radio station. I think I might have called or wrote a letter or something like that. Like this was like before the days, like the beginning days of like email and stuff. And I wrote a letter and stuff to the station. They actually wrote me back and said it was Johnny Costa, and he'd actually like died a few years before. So all right, so a few more questions, and then I'll let you all go. I'm not going to keep you on long today, as I always say. Let's see. Like as we go along our journey, Josh says, like as we go along our journey, we will pick up like the seven, sharp, nine, sharp, five. Sounds great in passing, and your brain starts to literally commit these practice chords to memory. Yeah, you learn something new, and your brain starts committed to memory, and it becomes part of your how you play. Abraham, do you use a mode over progression based on target chord, or choose a mode for each chord in the progression? I think I do both. I do both. Kyle says, "Tell me why the American gospel musicians are so dope, specifically piano players." Um, uh, in a nutshell, kind of what happens in the gospel music scene in America. I'll kind of parallel it to another. It's like swimming. Like we kind of just throw them out there and say swim, and you start to figure it out while you're swimming, right? And there might be somebody in the water that kind of gives you advice, like, hey, "This is how you swim," and you start to figure it out. But it's like we force you to have to figure it out. Like you got to figure it out now. Like I knew one song, I knew how to play this, and I went to a church that didn't sing that kind of music, and so I set my keyboard up, and they started singing. It was like whoa. And so it's part. It's just part of the culture that you have to improve in order to play. But God, the church, the American church, is really forgiving if you, depending on the size of the church, is really forgiving if you're not that great and will work with you until you become accomplished. But it's really like you get thrown out there and you got to figure it out. And you know, some do, most do. It's the culture. Contemporary style began with Edwin. Some would say it was Whitfield. Kenneth Donaldson says, I'm just learning the number system in my 50s. Don't sell yourself short." Exactly. Yeah, Andre Crouch is great. Leon, can you explain how the gospel course work? Are the lessons pre-recorded? Is there live help? Um, okay. Um, oh man, Leon, I have a surprise for you, and I don't want to tell it yet. But I see you retracted your question, so I don't have to say it. Okay. All right. I wouldn't answer that question since Leon retracted it. But uh, I have a surprise for you coming up. So if you're on next week, Leon, I have a surprise for you that'll answer your question and a whole lot more. All right. Any other questions? Abraham says, "Can you please give an example of when you would use a mode over a progression?" Um, that's something I cover um, in a couple of my courses, quarter moves and progressions course. So that's something I would not cover like in this kind of setting. How long would you recommend for practicing? Uh, okay, when I finally decided to commit to music fully, I practiced 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day was my practice routine. And if it was a bad day, then it was 2 hours. But 4 hours was the goal. Um, yes, I do have a lesson on practice technique. Um, where is it? So I'm not sure. I have it somewhere on the channel, on the YouTube channel. So just check on the YouTube channel. Cielo, I think it's somewhere on there. Any other questions? All All right, last thing. Make sure you are tuned into the channel. Let me just and you're part of our community. I've been saying this for the past 3 weeks, but we have some huge surprises coming, and I want to make sure you're the first to know. We'll be handing out like some really cool freebies and discounts and just a whole bunch of stuff that I want to make sure that you all that are part of our community that you all get access to. So here's the link. Uh, Definitely put your name and email address, and I will update you all. Um, Keith says I was looking for jazz players. I have a jazz list too, but all right, I have to come to that next time. I don't know any like I'm not a Brazilian monster like that. I need to work on it. Paul says looks like you lost weight. Uh, well, I picked up weight and lost weight. Picked up weight. Uh, I'm just finishing a pickup phase and about to start a losing phase. It's the dark shirt that makes me look skinnier. um, Kiana says, "What would you say a beginner needs to start with after learning scales and chords?" So songs, chord progressions, and songs. Uh, yes, Leon. I'll say wait, because I have a surprise for you. So yes, wait. All right, all right. Okay, y'all. So I promised I wouldn't keep you on here too long. And I think I'm gonna call it quits tonight. Um, I have some really cool announcements coming up again. So make sure you are on our mailing list. Here's the link to it, so that you're updated when we have these, and you get all the benefits of being part of our community. I want to make sure that those who are in our community get these benefits first before anybody else does. So I'm sending them out to you all first. So make sure you're part of our community. So just click the link, put your name and email address, and then confirm your email address, and you'll be part of it. Okay, you all. Thank y'all so much. Oh, one more thing. So next week, I think we'll do 10 o'clock again, and then after that, we'll be back. After next week, we'll be back to our normal 9:30 time on Wednesdays. But just for next week, we'll do 10 o'clock one more time, and then we'll go back to 9:30. All right. Thank you all, and until the next one, be blessed and happy practicing.